Hey guys, Kingpin here. Welcome to the next episode of Franchise Mode. Today's going to be a big episode, because I really want to get this building done. We've been working on it for a long time now, and we still have a ways to go, but I think we can finalize the detail and just get a shell on this thing, to where it'll at least look presentable. We're also going to 100% add in some mandrills to the open exhibit we have. What seems to be the issue already? Protesters? His welfare's at 100%. Maybe it's because he's in a box, that probably doesn't help. Matter of fact, I don't know why he was in a box. But what can they possibly be protesting if it wasn't that? He hasn't been in there for that long if he was. I don't even know how to box up an animal, if I'm being honest. Where even are they? Oh, they're already inside? Get out of here, what are you even protesting? You have a giraffe on your sign, you have a lion and a tiger, you have a chimpanzee. This is a primate conservation effort. Only one of you has the right sign and we don't even have chimpanzees. That's right, get out of here. In case you haven't been watching this series, or this is your first time here, we've been working on this new zoo, which is a primate conservation effort. And our hallmark exhibit so far is this big thing, which we're going to call the Rainforest. It has a really detailed interior with a lot of exhibits. It also has 3 lemur enclosures and what's eventually going to be mandrills right out this window. It's by far the biggest build I've ever made in this game, and I'm having a lot of fun doing it. Right when you walk in, you have our frogs. There's 3 species total. The first one are these gold poison dart frogs, and we have a bunch of them in here. Right next to them is another species of South American frog. These guys are also poisonous, but they're also much more difficult to see. The golden ones are easy and cling to the glass all the time, but these guys I can never find. Let's see if we can't show one off. The golden ones like to cling to the glass, so they're a lot easier to see. These guys can be kind of tricky unless you use the camera feature. Where's the fun in that though? Let's see if we can't find one now. I'm not seeing any. I think there's 5 or 6 of them in here too. Maybe we'll have to use the camera feature and cheat. Where are they? Oh yeah, these guys are much smaller than our golden ones. I never would have found him. And lastly, we have our bullfrogs. These guys are really easy to find. They're pretty big. They live in the Americas, so they don't necessarily fit in here, but I thought it'd be cool to have a big frog instead of 2 little ones. The other option was the Goliath frog, which is native to Africa. I'm sure we'll find a place for it later. Forgive my camera controls, it is very sensitive in here. But going up the stairs, you get to the second story of the building. And why are we zoomed out so far? Calm down. Out this glass, you'll be able to see the mandrills when we eventually add them. And then up here, this is the second story to the ringtail lemur's habitat. Most of them spend their time on the ground floor though, which we'll get to in time. Why is this one also in a box? I've never once put an animal in a box before. Get out of there. But anyways, going around the side of this build, we're now at the front of the building, and I really tried to encapsulate making this thing look like you're in the middle of the rainforest with animals all around, and it seems like the guests are enjoying it too since they're throwing all their money in the donation bins. I've used a mixture of rocks, tropical plants, and mulch to give it a pretty realistic look. The guests seem to be enjoying this one too. These are our red-ruffed lemurs. The exhibit design is pretty similar, since it's 2 stories and you can see it from both. Over here is our insect pavilion. Right below where we currently are is going to be our black and white ruffed lemurs, but we have a lot of different insect species in here. I think we have 6 of them from all over the world, but all jungle-related insects. The entire thing has a glass roof. We're eventually going to put signs on the top of it, and maybe some plants too to stop the heat from getting too intense. We should probably add some donation bins over here too. I had a comment in the last video that said we were forgetting them, and he was 100% right. If you're ever struggling on money in the early game, donation bins are a very easy way to get money, as long as you have the education to back it up. More educated guests will throw money into the donation bins way more often. Guests also need to be taken care of with their drink, restroom, and happiness meter too. You gotta have happy guests that are willing to throw money into these things. Yeah, but right beneath this thing, that's where the black and white ruffed lemurs are. However, today we're going to be working out here. We're going to have mandrills here. Mandrills are a very interesting species. They're actually the world's largest monkey. Before we get the mandrills in here, I want to extend this roof just a little bit. This is going to be their hard shelter. This is the only exhibit that's a part of the rainforest that's a little bit outside. Technically speaking, the ringtail lemurs are a little bit outside also, since they have a dome with a hole in the top of it, but these guys are going to be primarily outside. The interior is going to be relatively small. It's just going to be this little roof overhang that goes over about a third of their exhibit, maybe a fourth of it. It's not too big, but it'll give a really good view for the guests that are inside, and this will be the first thing that you see on the right when you walk into the building. On the left, you're going to have the frogs, and on the right, you're going to have the mandrills. Luckily, you'll be able to see the mandrills the entire way outside since it's a glass viewing area, so guests won't be too crowded once they get in here. I always like to keep builds semi-realistic like that. In a real zoo, you wouldn't want the most popular area to be the first thing you see, so it would create a traffic jam of people trying to view the coolest animal in the zoo. I think that's going to work though. I'm considering adding these stadium seats for viewing and animal shows, but I'm not quite married to the idea yet. Right now I'm just kind of testing to see if they would look alright, but in the end, I chose not to do it. We'll definitely add something like this later, and if I could go back, I'd probably add an area for this inside of the Rainforest Pavilion, but now's not the time. I should have thought ahead. I really want to use one of these things as well, although mandrills are kind of large and I can't really see them jumping around on this too much. I think we're just going to stick to semi-normal rainforest textures like the wood and other basic things in here. All of these animals share the exact same biome, despite all the lemurs coming from Madagascar and mandrills living on the mainland of Africa. But we're going to keep it similar, since if you sort it, all of the animals like tropical and African stuff, so we're going to just act like they're all from the same area. They're from the same continent, but technically not the same location. We're going to make all the exhibits uniform though, since all of the animals like the same things. There's no point in mixing it up now. We have an entire zoo to do mix-ups. This exhibit's going to be pretty samey, but sometimes samey is good. Mandrills don't need to climb near as much as lemurs, and here they are. Let's get our education boards all set, check our donation bins, get some out here, so the guests will donate as soon as they get to the Rainforest Pavilion. Now let's get their exhibit exactly like they want. Looks like they're going to need a lot of long grass for once, which is a little bit odd. Not many animals that we've made exhibits for like long grass. But let's cut to the end. Let's see the final product. My apologies, guys. Capture card trouble again. I recorded an hour and a half of footage, and the last 45 minutes or so of it's just a still image with no audio. I'm gonna record the next few segments in like 15-minute intervals until I can solve the problem. This way, you guys aren't getting cheated out of the content you deserve. So sorry again, but let's try to adapt to it. This is a mandrill. They're the world's largest monkey, and quite ferocious at that. They have huge teeth which they use to intimidate potential predators, and they live in giant packs. Unlike other animals that use the same tactics to ward off predators, mandrills can be legitimately dangerous. They're not exactly peaceful like lemurs, and they can dish out some serious damage. Mandrills are critically endangered, sadly, like most primate species in Africa, and they only live in a small area on the west coast, usually in jungles. Being monkeys, they naturally love climbing, and in Planet Zoo they need climbing area in their exhibit, which is kind of what I designed it after. They don't need to go near as high as lemurs, since while they can go in trees, they actually live in the ground. Mandrills much prefer to make burrows and nests on the forest floor than to go high up in the trees. They're so heavy, and they're not the best climbers compared to other monkeys. If they fall, they can seriously hurt themselves. Most monkeys have what's called a prehensile tail. All monkeys have a tail. That's what makes them monkeys and what differentiates them from apes. But a prehensile tail is when a monkey can use a tail almost like a fifth limb and grab onto things. Mandrills' tails are quite stubby. They can't do this, so they have to stick to smaller areas to climb. This is why I designed the exhibit the way I did. I kept it relatively simple, using blueprints and just matching them together, and then I added really good areas for the guests to view them through this glass, putting their enrichment and then their nesting area and water source right next to the glass so the guests can see it. They have a lot of plants out here. Since they're outside and this zoo is in South America, it's gonna get hot. These guys are from Africa, so they're used to it, but still, it can get brutal out here. I provided them a really small area to climb. Hopefully it suits all their needs. There's even some enrichment up here. They really seem to like it so far. They climb more than the lemurs do, which really shocked me. Sorry again for the capture card trouble. It really does frustrate me when I can't put out the best quality content for you guys, since you guys deserve the world and more. Could have been worse. Luckily we didn't lose too much footage. Pretty much just the design of this exhibit and a few little details on the inside. I don't know if you just saw it, but I actually wrote the Rainforest, the name of the exhibit, right on the front of this thing. It makes it look a little bit more official, and I didn't really use the cartoony font like last time. Other than that, realistically, everything's accounted for. So let's get back to the episode. One of the things I don't like about the previous zoo in this franchise, which by the way, we're not done with that zoo, we're just trying to kickstart this one. But anyways, one of the things that I'm not married to with it was how inefficient that it runs. In order to fix that, we can use work zones. The problem is I didn't know how to use work zones back then, and at this point it's going to be overwhelming to try and create work zones since we have, I don't know, say 10 exhibits in that zoo, and plenty of other areas where staff is going to need to go. So in this zoo, first of all we have to train everybody since they have enough experience to get to at least level 2. But anyways, we need to figure out how to make a work zone. Aside from that one random career mode mission, I honestly don't know how to do this. This is going to be a learning experience for both of us. Let's see if we can't figure it out. It looks like if we go there we can create work zone and everything's red. The work zones I want to have are one zookeeper is going to need to take care of the exhibits while the other one does the habitats. So it looks like right now if we click on the red it turns green. We'll have this first one have access to the staff room, the keeper hut, and every single habitat in this place. We'll have the 3 lemurs and the mandrills. This should keep her workload really light and not overwhelming, so it won't be clogged up and the animals will be hungry or thirsty. I think this'll do it. So we should just have to rename it and then confirm it. I'm trying to think if there's any other building, but I don't think so. So let's just rename this thing to Rainforest. What should we call it? We'll call it Rainforest Habitat. I think that works well. Then the next one will be called Rainforest Exhibit. That way we can differentiate the two and add other keepers to it if need be. Maybe this is too much for one keeper. I'm honestly not sure. So now let's just do that exact same process again. This time it should be even easier since we know how to do it though. And just to make sure this is the keeper hut, yes it is. Now everything's orange. Maybe it's color coded. I don't know. Yeah, and now when we click it, it turns blue. So now, let's just go through and click all the exhibits, being careful not to hit that hot dog stand. And now, this zookeeper should only bother this stuff. This way, nothing's getting neglected. One keeper can handle 4 exhibits, and the other one can handle the other 9 smaller exhibits. And just like I said, we'll name this Rainforest Exhibit, and then we'll be good to go. Work zones should make things run like clockwork around here, make everything much more efficient. I don't think we need to add anybody else to this yet. Maybe we'll add our security guard and have a caretaker only taking care of the rainforest. But other than that, I don't see the need to mess with it too much anymore. I feel like our exhibits as a whole have been pretty good as of lately, but the one thing that I want to get better is decorating the outside of the exhibits. Anybody can do the interior well. All you have to do is fill out the animal's enrichment and get its plants to where it likes it, and the game tells you exactly what to do. But making the outside is rather complicated because you don't really have a blueprint to go off of. You just have to wing it and use trial and error to see what's good or what's not. I'm going to try to work on the outside of this exhibit a little bit, and have other varying factors like this wood log trim. I want to be one of the best builders this game has seen. And I'm not going to use the excuse that the console edition's only been out for about a month at this point. I think it's been out for a month and 2 days when recording this. But that's no excuse. I've had years of inspiration from other YouTubers that I'm going to take from, but I think I can add my own little personal spin to the exhibits that we make here on this channel. The hardest part in my opinion is taking that one little step further. Like I just said, anybody can detail an exhibit on the interior, add the trees, add the climbing, add whatever the animal needs, but making the exhibit look good from the guest perspective is where the true challenge in this game lies. I'm going to try to add a little wooden trim on the glass here, maybe do some rock work on the bottom, add a nice patch of shade for the guests to view the animals on the outside. Just try to add little things that you, if you personally went to a zoo, would enjoy. Try and think outside the box. See what ideas you can come up with. And if you have anything cool, let me know in the comment section below if you think I should add it to this exhibit. Check it out! Even though the details that we've added so far are relatively small, just some shade and some trim, I think it turned out really nice and professional looking, and I hope the guest and Mandrills agree. This build is coming along really well, but I think it's about time we finish off this roof. There's two areas that we still have to work on the interior for, being where the insects were going to be, and then below that the lemurs, and then over where the staff is. You can kind of see it on the top left of the screen. But for now, I think we can close up the stair area over here and finish off the glass. So let's get to that. That looks better already. We still have enough room with the roof off to upgrade the interior a little bit, like we're gonna have to fix up this area and anywhere you can see below where you need to be. But I think it looks good. This area is definitely 100% done. It's by far my favorite part of the build, and probably my favorite thing I've built in this game so far. It just looks so peaceful. We're just gonna have to fix up little areas, like down here, put something up there. Interior is going to take a while, but that's a lot of stuff I can do off screen. It'll be really samey and repetitive. But for now, I think there's something missing with the Mandrill exhibit, and something I left open on purpose. I want to try and get a viewing dome in there. I've never used one before, nor do I really know how to work it, but we'll see if we can't get one in. I already have an idea of where it's going to go. I want to detail up small areas in this zoo, so no area looks like it's unfinished. In order to do that, we're just simply going to make little rock formations and flower beds. It's really not complicated at all, but I think in the end, it might bump up the complexity meter, say 5 to 7% in the grand scheme of things, but I think that 5 to 7% will be worth it. That could probably be one extra exhibit at the end of the complexity meter's life cycle, but I'd rather have a really good looking zoo with 8 exhibits than a zoo with, say, 9 or 10 exhibits but no detail in between. And I think you guys would agree with that statement. The entire point of this game, at least to me, is to be able to make your dream zoo virtually. Realistically speaking, I'm not going to be able to make $48,000 in an hour making a real zoo. So this is the best outlet to express our creativity. So why not make it as perfect as you can make it? I went through a few options here, but I want to put something along this wall. And not this air conditioning unit I'm messing with. I'm talking about maybe a vending machine, maybe some ATMs, but I can't really decide what would fit good there. Let me know if you have any ideas in the comments. I'm leaning towards ATMs. At first I was thinking about making it like a... Obviously it's not environmentally friendly, which is kind of the point of this game. But in a real zoo, that would be a good spot for a smoking section, but I don't think something like that exists in this game. I'm thinking too realistic sometimes. This game still is fictional, so maybe we can live in a world without smoking. The Mandrills will appreciate that more than the people, though. This is going to be our entrance to the viewing dome, and basically what viewing domes are these tunnels that you can't really see through, and don't worry, time has paused, so the Mandrills aren't going to come out and attack everyone, but they connect to barriers, like our glass one we have here. It made the wood look a little bit weird on the top since it warps it a slight bit, but then the guests can actually go through this tunnel and into the viewing dome and be pretty much inside of the exhibit. It's cool for animals like mandrills, because they'll come up and actually interact with it since they're intelligent enough to. I like how it turned out. The only thing we're going to have to do now is fix the top of the wood, which wasn't that hard. I've used a pretty consistent palette of different plants, like banana trees and palms and coconut palms. It's all been pretty samey, so out here we can afford to put some different things in. Just because this is a primarily African-focused zoo so far, despite being in South America, that doesn't mean we have to have all of the plants abide to this rule. The plants inside of the exhibits have to stay what the animals like, but if we wanted to, we could put North American plants out here, we could put European plants out here, and since they're not in the animals' exhibits, it won't bother them. The only plants that have to follow the animals' likes and dislikes are the ones that are actually inside of the exhibits. That being said, if your null barriers go a little bit further than they look like they do, make sure that the animals, for one, can't get out of the null barriers, and for two, nothing's seeping inside of them. I thought it would be cool to add a sort of fountain looking thing here. It would break up the color palette, so we're not just going to have more brown, gray, and green, which is pretty much all we've used so far. We're going to get a little bit of blue in here, and maybe some green in the water, although I don't think it'll look good. The water's kind of shallow. But using the special effect blocks down here, we can actually make a pretty convincing fountain display. I think it'll look really nice. We can come back in later with some concrete and make this pond a little bit more lifelike, but for now I think this will do fine. I seriously can't get over how good this looks. I really can't believe that I've been able to make this only a month into the game. If you guys like it as much as I do, let me know in the comments and I'll put it on the workshop when it's completely done. That'll probably be in the next episode, and then we'll finally start onto something new. Or we'll head back to the other zoo if you guys want. Let me know in the comments. We're not going to abandon that zoo. This build just took a serious amount of time. I mean, look how big it is. I've checked the complexity meter off screen and we're already at about 12%. That means we can make about 8 of these builds total, and then that would be the entire zoo. So it's definitely a big substantial margin of the complexity meter taken out already. But that's fine, this zoo was always meant to be smaller. With that being said, I think that's going to be it for today's video. I hope you guys liked and enjoyed it, and if you did, don't forget to subscribe. We're getting really close to 500 subscribers, and I can't be more happy with the progress we're making. I guess that's it for today. Kingpin out. See you in the next one. Coming real soon.